Between the two of them, the inside of Coates, Parker gets too heavily involved. And that's Whitehead and Coates.
And hello everybody, welcome to VRRC. This is the 5th round of the Academy VRRC MX-5 Cup. I'm Ed May. Joining me in the comms box for this evening's entertainment is, of course, the wonderful Dave Marshall. We come here to Thruxton, one of the fastest circuit in the UK, if not Europe. Look at that. Flat out for most of the lap in these MX-5s. Expect to see plenty of close wheel-to-wheel action from start to finish. The type of racing that Thruxton always throws any sort of race series that comes here. You can see this, the calendar on your bottom of the screen. 5th of July, Thruxton. The 5th round of 6. In a week's time, we go to Cadwell Park. Just a week before, we were at Snetterton. Drivers were really trying to come to grips with Snetterton, and this is, well, a while away from that circuit, isn't it, Dave? Thruxton. So many more different aspects needed at this circuit.
Yeah, you know, you went from Snetterton, where it was particularly technical and, you know, quite a long lap that with lots of variation in, which meant there was a lot of variation in lap time, whereas, you know, I was just talking to you there before, Ed, qualifying's not going to be everything here. You know, there's only 2 major braking areas, and after that, the entire lap is completely flat. So slipstream is going to play a major part this afternoon.
Absolutely, yeah. You can see that this is part of a wider series. The MX-5s part of a 4-car disciplined championship where we go to the Formula 4s, I believe, in a couple of weeks' time. I think signups for that are open on the VRRC website. If you want to get involved, be sure to give that a look. Bases are, of course, available as well, I think, for the remaining few rounds, the final round as well at Cadwell Week, if any of you watching want to get involved. And, well, here are the prizes at stake. You can see first place gets 2 hours one-to-one online coaching, and the winner's cap. Second gets 1 hour of coaching and a second place cap, and then third gets a car setup coaching session and the third placed winner's cap. So there's definitely things to play for, and we can see with a performance like that, Mick Sutton could be finding himself taking home that winner's cap and that 2-hour-long session, because he got a race victory in the first race and the second race. Also begging our driver of the round from his performances, Andy Dorman, did very well to come home in second. Simon Reid there in third, but there were other performances that sort of went under the radar at Snetterton, weren't they, Dave? And, well, it was the newcomer that really impressed, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Brad Smith was definitely in contention for that drive of the round as well. Very, very impressive opening round for his night out. But unfortunately, it was a mistake in the second race that cost him a spin under the bridge and onto the grass. So that sort of took him out of contention for bringing home some really good points last round. As you can see, he isn't on the championship standings just because he hasn't bagged enough points with it only being one round. In fact, there he is, just off the bottom of the screen, 11th place. But I definitely think, you know, he may be sat in 11th place in the championship standings, but you watch tonight, he's definitely going to be a driver to watch, really pushing for them podium places.
But it was very close, wasn't it, at the top of the field? I think Mick Sutton was only 4 points shy of the championship leader coming into this. And, well, it's going to be all down to this all-important qualifying session. Well, not all-important, but definitely important. You do get, I think, a few points for pole. And the drivers, they'll be trying all they can to extract the maximum amount from their cars. And, well, speaking of extracting the maximum amount, Dave, shall we go to your hot lap of this Thruxton circuit?
Well, indeed. Just listen how much of this track is absolutely flat. So across the line here at Thruxton in towards turn 1, and you'll notice it's going to be a similar sort of theme throughout the entire track here. Completely flat, a little bit of curb on taint on the entrance, but otherwise don't even think about touching the brakes. Into the first complex, brake as late as you dare, down to third gear. So you're trying to get a nice bit of rotation there. I nibble the curve a little bit there, but try not take it through the next left and right. Keep the wheel as straight as possible. You see, I just nudge the curve coming out of Seagrave there. Want to try and avoid that. Make sure you've got that wheel nice and straight, getting the maximum drive possible. Through the left hand here, I personally take a little bit of the green on the inside. I don't think it throws the car that much off. And for me, the shorter line you can make the track, the faster you'll be. So you see, coming around the right hander here, I'm not fading all the way over to the left hand side of the track, keeping it relatively tight, even though the next corner is a right hander. Now I open the corner up, so you can see, trying to shorten the line as much as possible there. Completely flat through Church. You'll notice since the first complex, I haven't lifted or thought about braking the entire way, so there's only 2 real major braking points on this track. This is the most difficult part into the last complex, into club. You can see trying to get the nose pointed as soon as possible. You can see nibble a lot of that left hand curb, that's still completely legal, and make sure you keep on that throttle nice and early on the exit of that corner.
So that was a hot lap by the wonderful Dave Marshall. And Dave, well, it was, you definitely alluded to it, there's a lot of that lap that's flat out, basically coming through first complex all the way up to club at the end of the lap. You're flat down on the loud pedal. Yeah,
so basically, you know, you saw in the video, into the first section of the track, your car span out there in the last chicane. Yeah, it is a very, very tricky braking point and a tricky left-right of change of direction of the car. So I imagine that probably won't be the only car we see do that in this session. But yeah, as I was saying, as we see Brad Smith here, you're coming up to this first real heavy braking point. First corner is absolutely flat. This is into turn 2. If you can get this right through this right-hander and get enough rotation on the car, it is completely flat from then all the way to the last chicane. So you can see what I mean here, Ed. That, you know, the slipstream, you know, you're sat in probably 5th gear around 6,000 RPM in these cars. You know, once you get into that slipstream, we're really going to see that 5th gear allowed to be opened up all the way to the red line, and I think that's when we're going to see, you know, prime overtaking opportunities there.
Yeah, I think you're going to be bang on the money here. As we see, Andy Dorman, well, he's actually leading a train. All the drivers trying to use the slipstream effect to their benefit in this qualifying session. Andy Dorman through the first sector.
Yeah, actually,
setting the timing aboard light, is he?
So sorry to put in there, Ed, but actually it's a valid point what you're saying there. It's something that we haven't really seen play a part in any qualifying session so far. But this track is really going to benefit from, you know, if you can find a slipstream partner or get tucked in behind one of them cars, it is really going to be useful for, you know, for putting in the best lap time possible. See Luke Weston there with a 24.4. I believe what we're actually seeing in that last chicane is there's a car on the inside, is the steward of the course actually monitoring track limits on the last corner there. So he's just making sure that if a driver cuts it too much, you know, it's not just once you're on a lap to cut it to gain an advantage to finish the lap. You got to remember the advantage you'll gain if you cut that to start your lap is also equally big. So it's important that we keep the clerk on his toes there and make sure that no one's getting an unfair advantage.
Yeah, clerk of course, VRRC's very own Rich Hayden, just sitting there, as you mentioned, at the club chicane, watching all the drivers, keeping an eagle eye on proceedings, and he's as well, I think, in the Discord chat with all the drivers. So if he sees a car cutting the corner, of course he'll be able to let them know and make sure that they slow down, don't set a fast lap time, otherwise they'll be well, in a spot of trouble, shall we say, Dave?
Yeah.
We don't want that at all. We want to see good, clean racing, good qualifying times being set. Andy Dorman, like we've been saying, at the front of this train, coming into club, like you said on your hot lap, keeping it nice and pitched in, then onto the brakes, carries the speed through. I think that's just about within the bounds of the circuit for Andy Dorman. And as he powers it up to the line, what will it be? First sector was an improvement, middle sector was an improvement, but the lap time didn't really improve that much. The final sector wasn't quite there for Andy, and he stays 4th fastest. Mick Sutton, though, well, what a change in fortunes he's had. He's been showing excellent pace so far at the last round at Snetzer, didn't he, where he got pole position. Now he's not quite on the mark, however, he'll have a chance to improve here, pitching it in nicely. Oh, cutting that corner, I think he might have just gotten away with it, you know?
Yeah. So I'll quickly explain the track limits in that last chicane. So as rules with all of our tracks that we go to, as long as one wheel is within the white line, or if there's a painted curb on the outside of that line, that's then an extension of the track. So as long as you've got one wheel on that painted surface, it's completely legal. So if you've got a keen eye here, Ed, you can see the left-hander in the chicane. So the top corner, if you like, on our screen at the moment, you can see how there's them yellow sausage curbs, but the painted curb actually runs to the inside of that sausage curb. So, you know, in theory, you can use a lot of the left, but it's the right drivers would really try and take advantage of, and that's what Rich is really monitoring at the moment. You can see just sat in the last corner, so you can see all them drivers perfectly legal.
Likens just got out of shape.
Yeah, but this is what happens. All it takes is you going a little bit hot over that sausage curb, and it really bounces the car, and that's what stops you getting the rotation to open up the right-hander. Otherwise, then to try and carry the momentum, you end up cutting too much of the last corner, and it's a lap invalid.
What a good view we have, though, isn't it? You can just see the way the drivers are trying to find the limits at this all-important area of the circuit. This is where you tend to find the drivers making the most of their lap times. You see Mick Sutton going through.
On the limit,
he set purple in the first sector. Middle sector leaves a little bit to be decided, and as he crosses the line, that's not quite
8,000.
Is it 8,000? It's very close to being on the top step. That is currently being occupied by Simon Reed. Simon, as well, not quite on it in the first sector. We'll see the times as they get set in the middle sector. That tends to show how good of a run they get, isn't it, out of this first little complex. Flat out for the rest of the lap. It's so crucial, though, isn't it, to get this bit nicely hooked up, because if you don't, well, the lap times will certainly tell you the story, aren't they?
Yeah, you know what? This is one of the tracks, really. I know it's easy to say this, but you know, you go to Brands or Donington, you throw away a 10th in the first sector or something like that, and you know, you don't like to do it, but you like to think, maybe get that lap time back a little bit, because the track's, you know, got more than one braking zone. This here is that flat out that you only hit the brakes once after the first complex. So if you lose a 10th or 2/10ths in the first sector, the chance of you actually getting that time back on the rest of the lap isn't really there. So I think that's probably why we saw it take so long for Mick Sutton to actually put a time on the board. As we see Sam Milner sat on the wall on the exit of the chicane, so he's obviously got a little bit skew whiff on the brakes there, or hit a curb and just bounced away. But yeah, so Mick Sutton, 0.08 of a second off Simon Reed. Simon Reed would be loving the fact he's put this on provisional pole at the moment. But look at the times, it's incredibly close. And as I said, quali, I don't think is even going to be half the story here. You know, it's not worth that much on points. You know, you get 1 point for pole, but also, you know, the slipstream effect round here. As long as the car that's following can judge his lines and keep commitment as well to keep close to the car in front, you know, I reckon the person who's in first place on the opening lap, if that car's close enough and behind, he's a sitting duck on the first lap.
Yeah, it's going to be all important to see how the drivers navigate all of that, manage to battle with the slipstream having a big effect on the lap. We can see now Luke Weston, he's currently third fastest. It's good to see as well Luke back out on circuit. I haven't seen too much from him this season after his, well, amazing performance, you have to say, at the start of the season. He came out of the first round championship leader at Brands Hatch, and that was without force feedback. So Luke Weston, if he's able to string a full season together in, well, a few weeks' time in the F4s, the Formula 4s, he could be a real force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, he could indeed, but this guy actually at the moment is on a lap, looking very, very good, setting the fastest middle sector of anyone on track at the moment. So this could be a lap that puts him very much in contention. Will it be? No, it actually isn't.
Right.
So that must have been an outlap. It was indeed. Sorry, I missed sector 1 there. Sector 1 of 3 minutes, so definitely an outlap there by Brad Smith. But that shows me he's definitely got some serious pace in the car left yet.
Yeah, and that's the middle sector, which shows he must get a good run through this section here. Follow this corner if you get it right, flat out all the way through until you come to club. So Brad Smith, is he going to have a repeat of last time out? Not any personal best in the first sector. In fact, actually, I think half a second down from the top times being set earlier on. We're going to see, though, if he's been able to claw it back in this middle sector like he's had last time out. Purple session best to, well, everyone else in the session, as he's flat out all the way through. Got a lot of time, haven't you, to sort of get the optimum line, keep it nice and close to the corners as well. Just trying not to scrub the speed. Minimal inputs on the steering wheel. If you're trying to sort of dive it in, soaring at the wheel, that's just time that speed that you're losing out. And the main factor to keep in mind is the conservation of the speed, of the momentum. These cars, they aren't the best accelerating, but Brad Smith does get a nice run through the final chicane. Could still find a little bit of time through there. Brad, again, not quite good enough to improve. A second off of his previous lap time. Bang on, actually. Exactly a second off of his session best. So Brad Smith with a little bit of time still to find, with 2 hours and, well, 15 seconds to go in this qualifying session.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, I think Brad just here, it didn't look like he did that much wrong there, and to be a second off the pace, that really just shows you how much momentum is a real key part of this track. Yeah, you were saying about the car diving there and sharp inputs. You know, you'll have seen on the hot lap, it is so crucial about minimal input, you know, getting that wheel as straight as possible through a lot of the corners to not scrub any speed, as well as, you know, through this right-hander before church as well, not to run all of the track on the left-hand side, because you don't need to use it, so you're just extending the track past where it needs to be to keep all the speed through the corner. You see Brad Smith not using all the exit there. Little things like that just cost, a few hundredths of a second, but it all adds up. And then coming into this last chicane, it's so crucial that you get that nose pointed super early, allowing you to really get hard on the brakes before you get back off them through the chicane. You can see just gets his right wheel perfectly on the yellow sausage curve there. Good floor on the way out. But what will this be on lap time? Looking at it, it was good enough. 26.1, so struggling for a bit of lap time here. Maybe, I'm maybe not going to suggest this, but could he possibly be running excessive fuel here to just maybe try a bit of a race stint during qualifying?
I don't know, maybe. It depends on if he's been able to get enough practice time in. Maybe he's trying to figure out the way the car handles on a fuller fuel load. But I did see a little while before he was braking rather early for that final chicane. So I definitely think there's time still to be found in Brad Smith. He's leaving it right until the last minute, though. Another driver doing exactly that as well is Simon Reed. Personal best in the middle sector, which tells us he's going to be on a really fast lap. It's crucial to get the time there on that sector because you're flat out all the way up until you get to club. Nicely over the curbing as well. Really on the ragged edges, Simon Reed. What is it going to be? Not an improvement. So it looked like an amazing sort of end to the lap, but it just didn't work out for Simon Reed there. But he did get across the line just before the checkered flag was waved, so he will be able to complete this lap, a final lap for him to try and secure pole position. Brad Smith is on his final lap of this qualifying session. What time can he find? Look at that, really getting over the curbing nicely. He's going to pull into the pits. Not an improvement on the delta for Brad Smith. Helps to calm down pit entry. Luke Weston, I think, is on a fast lap. He's at a personal best on the third sector, but I think, is he going to be able to find the time to get up onto the front row of the grid? No, is the answer. Drivers setting that times early on the session and then just not finding anything later on. Kobe Likens is about to cross the line and he's going to stay in 5th place, but a good result from Kobe, really improving from the start of the season to where he is now. 5th place is certainly something to be very pleased about. Puts him in contention, doesn't he, for the long slipstream train from first all the way down to the rest of the field as we have Simon Reed's final qualifying lap time. Sectors aren't looking too great for Simon Reed, but he can be happy with the position he's found himself in because I don't think Mick Sutton will have an answer to Simon Reed as he comes across the line. Only 8 thousandths separate first from second.
Yeah, you know what? What for me is quite interesting, that is you've got the top 6 drivers there all qualifying within a 124. So very, very close on lap times, which we expected to see. But yeah, that really shows qualifying super close. Not really much to separate on track between the drivers. I cannot wait to see how slipstream is going to affect these cars on this track.
I'm having a look as well at some of the top speeds being set. Luke Weston has actually had the highest top speed, so he's been able to get a really good run. Keep your eyes open for him later on in the race. But we do have our pole sitter in the interview room with us. And, well, Dave, would you like to have a chat to Simon Reed?
Yeah, we'll have a quick word with Simon here. Just a quick word regarding putting it on pole. 8,000th per second isn't much of a margin, but it doesn't matter whether it's a big margin or not because a pole lap is a pole lap.
Well, indeed. Admittedly, I didn't think it was going to be enough for pole with the times I've seen Mick do in practice, but yeah, managed to work out for me.
Yeah, it did indeed, and I was saying qualifying is sort of half the story here. How much do you think slipstream's really going to play a part in the race this afternoon?
Oh well, I'm not sure. There's a lot that's full throttle. A lot of the circuit is at flat out. If I can get close enough to someone in front of me, then yeah, maybe there is a bit of slipstream, but I haven't seen the effects of it myself yet.
Yeah, well, we saw a little glimpse of it in qualifying with Luke Weston setting a considerably higher top speed than anyone else, so there is obviously quite an advantage to it. Maybe something to be aware of in the race here, Simon. So good luck. I'll let you get your head down ready for the race, and hopefully look forward to speaking to you after it as well.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much.
So that was pole sitter Simon Reed. We're going to have a quick advert up, and then we can come into all the action for the first race of the evening. Stay tuned. Welcome back to VRRC. We're just about to get underway. A little while to go until the cars will start this first race of the evening here at Thruxton. You can see the grid lining up here with Simon Reed, pole position, just able to edge up Mick Sutton by 0.008 of a second between the top two. Mick Sutton will be hoping to really try and put some pressure on Simon Reed in the early phase of the race. And then if he can get through into the lead, hope that the battling and all the squabbling starts to happen. Further back from him, Luke Weston as well. He'll be counting on a good start, maybe challenging the likes of Mick Sutton into the first corner on that inside run. And then, of course, we've got a relative newcomer that made his debut last time out at Snetterton. Brad Smith there in fourth with Kobe Likens, Andy Dorman, Sam Milner, Sam Milner is actually last of the drivers out on the circuit. But as we will very shortly get this started, what are your thoughts coming into this at the start of the race here, Dave?
Honestly, I think there's a lot of drivers here that's underestimating the value of the tow and slipstream, and I'm wondering whether we might see that maybe little bit of inexperience of people trying to pass too much on the braking points, instead of just buying the time, a little bit of patience, and setting the overtakes up in a nice straight when they can just get the overrunner speed.
Yeah, definitely. These Amsterdams aren't the most aerodynamic of machines, so the slipstream really can have a big effect. As we see the lights starting to come on, the engine notes begin to rise, and this first race of the evening here at Thruxton is about to get underway here. Holding for a while, and then they get started. Good run there from Simon Reed. He's really got the pace, and look at that down the inside. Luke Weston's going to go for it, going to muscle his way through on Mick Sutton. That was a Mick Sutton-esque move, wasn't it? But he's getting a taste of his own medicine from Luke Weston. They're going to be around the outside as they come into Campbell for the first time of asking. It goes the way of Luke Weston. Mick Sutton hangs him around the outside, and look at that, Brad Smith takes an opportune move down the inside, then it all goes a bit pear-shaped. Kobe Likens gets a tag and off into the tyre barriers as well. Andy Dorman's going to be very grateful to see himself getting through all of that nice and safely, because, well, oftentimes if there's an incident, even though it's going to be through no fault of Andy Dorman, sometimes he's almost a magnet for cars spinning around, so he's gotten through this early phase of the race nice and safe, and we know Andy does show a good turn of pace later on, but I think we can see the cars weaving. There's a safety car out on circuit.
Yeah, this is probably exactly what Brad Smith needed. I know it wasn't the best of starts, and it looked like it was a mid-corner collision, a racing incident where unfortunately Brad got a little bit turned round there, but this is exactly what he needs to bring himself back into this race. It was seeing the speed he does have on track, and a smart drive here from Brad just to keep his head down, realising there's still 18 minutes left of this race, if he can calculate them overtakes well and not lose too much time with these drivers further back. I mean, I say further back, Andy Dorman here in 4th place, only 2 positions ahead of Brad Smith, so he doesn't have to work too hard. All it's going to take is for him to calculate it, work with the drivers, not lose too much time, and that front pack won't be that far away at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we might only have this little bit of time behind the safety car. It's difficult to really see when the lights come out on the safety car, considering it's not really a safety car, it's just a safety MX-5. We've got Rich Hayden behind the wheel of the safety car for this evening. Probably enjoying being in the front of a field for a change.
Oh, I won't tell him that one, but luckily we've got the brilliant graphics done by Tom O'Farrell there at the top, showing us the lights on the safety car, and I imagine they will be going off at the end of this lap. The whole group's all ready and packed up, and we're going to maybe see what we've seen before here, Ed, though, where the tyres aren't quite in for some of the drivers, and they maybe find the limit of that grip quicker than they think.
Yeah, so that's something to consider. We didn't really expect it, did we, at the start of the season, tyre warm-up necessarily being an issue behind the safety car. But on these sorts of circuits, later in the season we're actually finding that the cars have their own little quirks that maybe yourself and myself especially didn't quite expect to see. And the drivers, they're going to have to be aware of that fact and be able to adapt to a car that isn't really working for them. You can see him out that Simon Reed is trying to warm the tyres up.
He's gone.
He's gone. He's left Mick Sutton in his dust. What a little bit of clever gamesmanship being, and they're warming up his tyres, warming them up, and then just absolutely bolting it on the run into the club chicane. So it's going to be Simon Reed ahead of Mick Sutton. Rick Westland there in 3rd, but there's a big enough gap between Simon Reed that he'll have some breathing space to Mick Sutton, and Mick's going to have to concern himself more with keeping Luke Weston at bay.
Yeah, so this is exactly what Brad Smith did need at the moment. Sam Milner and who's that at the front? No, it is Sam Milner. Sam Milner just holding up the group a little bit. Brad Smith going to struggle to get past him early enough, and you can see that leading 4-pack just really starting to pull away and gap this following pack a little bit. This is where Brad really needs to get right underneath that car, make the track as short as possible, and get as much slipstream as Luke Weston goes for up move up the inside, the right-hander. That's a brave move, a little bit of grass, but brilliant move up the inside there. And Mick Sutton, enough room given, but Mick Sutton will not have lifted at this point. Look at him diving left and right. This is where Mick just needs to maybe pull back a little bit on that throttle, tuck in, getting that slipstream through Church, and then use that advantage down the last corner. See, maybe lost a little bit of that through Church, but look, exactly what I thought. That slipstream just enough to get alongside that car and have that little bit more momentum down this straight in the last complex.
Well, look at this as they're battling. The gap to the leader is going to be well over a second. This is not what they need to do whatsoever. They just need to sort it amongst themselves, keep it nice and clean, and then maybe they'll find themselves. But actually, as I say that, Mick Sutton did get a monstrous run through the chicane. I think Simon Reed was a little bit out of sorts, shall we say. He lost, so look, 4/10 from 2nd place to Simon Reed, and all of a sudden Mick Sutton is well within the slipstream, and it's going to have a big effect on the complexion of this race. The thing I am surprised to see, though, is that Andy Dorman hasn't been able to close the gap as much. I thought the slipstream working out for him, as well as 2nd and 3rd, titanic tussle, would allow him to close in. Well, we're seeing a tussle, aren't we, though, between Brad Smith and Kobe Likens. Kobe's going to look for it around the outside. Is he going to be able to get the inside for the next corner? No, muscled out of the way by Brad Smith. And, well, this is very close, isn't it? And don't forget, this is for 5th place. Brad Smith with actually a bit of damage to the front of his car following the earlier incident. Might be hampering his straight line speed, but the slipstream seems to work out for him. And there's contact. He just comes, I feel, across the nose of Sam Milner there. Is he going to keep it going? Slides it through. I don't think so. No, loops it around. Sam Milner as well, off of the road. Kobe Likens profits, though. He won't be too upset by all of this.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely seen from Tokyo Drift, that wasn't it? 2 cars, endless drifts on the grass. But I tell you what, Kobe Likens, the real driver to sort of win out of that whole scenario there, just kept his nose clean. this is what I was on about. Brad Smith had such clear overlap speed on Sam Milner. Instead of just waiting through Church and then having the speed and then pouncing into the last complex, just almost tried to rush that overspeed into a corner that going too wide is always a very brave thing. So that's maybe what we saw there, is just maybe a little bit eager on trying to get the pass done, just because you feel like, right, I'm close enough now, I can go for it. You know, you've got all that advantage down the next straight as well. You just sometimes have to lift to 3/4 throttle just so you're sat at the same speed, and then apply throttle to use that overspeed advantage. We're going to see Mick Sutton here just heading down towards Church here, a flat out corner in these MX-5s. Touring cars, if ever you get a chance to go watch a real life Thruxton race around here, it is fantastic. Mick Sutton there, you can see, got the overspeed on Simon Reed there, just pulled out yet again, using the slipstream to absolute perfection there to have the inside line going into this complex.
Yeah, so it's going to be who's going to be on the brakes later, and I think it will be Mick Sutton. Does he get it through nicely? Avoids cutting the chicane. Oh no, gets it all out of sorts on the final part, and he's into the wall. Mick Sutton out of this race, a real contender for the race lead. Does he rejoin safely? No, I don't think so. I think he's just had another collision. Toby Likens, and maybe actually no, but Mick Sutton definitely going from hero down to, well, not quite zero, but down to 5th place. Unfortunate, but that opens the door for this man, Luke Weston, to have a go at the race lead. Seems to get a nice run, doesn't he, through the right-hander Seagrave, and then flat out all the way through until they get to club. The slipstream going to work wonders for Luke Weston's race. We're going to go on board, and you can just see how much Luke Weston closes by metre after metre, second by second. And you're going to have to wonder, is Luke Weston going to be confident in going for the move right away? Or would he try and manage it and then leave it until the last moment and hope that Simon Reed has got no reply?
Oh, so there we see again, look at the overspeed he had, and just setting up an overtake too early, just too early. So yeah, you know, this is what we're probably going to see quite a lot of on this race, but you can see how important this slipstream really is in this race. And you know, you were talking there about, is it worth just sitting back in second and waiting until the last few laps to then pounce? That's one of them where, can you hold it consistent behind them for a straight, 9 minutes and then chance it all in the last lap, or would you rather get past and have a go at trying to pull a gap? So it's one of them. It's really hard to railbed.
See, for me, I'd rather be behind and then leave it right until the end of the race, because sometimes the driver in front will start to realise what you're doing and then push that extra bit harder on the final lap and be prone to some mistakes, and that can really open up the door for an even easier move right at the end. It's all about trying to manage the battles that you're in, though, isn't it, at the moment? Luke Weston struggled a little bit, didn't he, as we saw them, I think that was coming through Village, just unsighted on the run into the corner. Well, was that through Church, actually?
Through Church, yeah.
It was,
through Church,
just unsighted on the apex of the corner. Turned in far too late. The overspeed came into understeer. And now what we're going to see here, I think, gets it hooked up a bit better this time, but the gap is that much greater between first and second. Just about a second, isn't it, actually, as they make their way into the final chicane, into club. How much will Luke Weston want to risk? How much is he going to send into the corner and try and close down the margins? He gets a good run, doesn't he, out of the corner. Avoids the sausage curves, the anti-cuts. You already saw what happened to Mick Sutton. If you go too much over them, well, you get spat off into, well, one of the walls and have the race go up, well, all out of sorts.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what, actually, a driver that's impressed me at the moment, Kobe Likens up into 4th place, putting a brilliant drive together, holding good, consistent pace, and it'll be really interesting to see whether, if Mick Sutton does get onto the back of him, his defensive tactics and how he'll manage his race from there, or whether he'll choose his battle and go, you know what, Mick's a little bit quicker, maybe I can tuck in, learn from, and then having a stronger race too.
Yeah, and I don't think there's much love lost between these pair, is there? Sam Milner and Brad Smith again close on circuit after their excursions, shall we say, their moments together. They've been a little bit too intimate with each other's bumpers, and hopefully that'll be the last time we see these two having contact, and we'll see a nice, good, clean fight. And don't forget as well, 6th and 7th, the final two runners in this race. This is basically what the front row of the second race is going to be. Brad Smith and Sam Muir. It's just a case of which way around will they be.
Yeah, you know what, I think Sam Milner's looking at this thing, and I've got a real good chance to get in the slipstream here on this lap. Maybe not necessarily go for the overtake this lap, but then, you know, he's thinking, I've got great speed here. I'm just looking at the timing screen at the moment, and currently Sam Milner last lap about 1.5 miles faster than Brad Smith in front of him. So, you know, I thought it was going to be a very late dive there. You can see the brakes very, very bitey on this car, really pitching the nose. But the problem is, sometimes when you pitch it that hard onto the nose, the car doesn't want to rotate, it just goes straight on. So, yeah, Sam Milner, to me, looking at his lap times, he's just learning every lap and just starting to build his feeling of this car and the track and really starting to build his speed.
Yeah, I think you're right here. So as they come into complex, the crucial one for your lap times around here, getting it all hooked up nicely and then flat out for the rest of a lap. I think Brad Smith does seem to have the better run through that area, but the slipstream sort of, I guess, nullifies any difference Brad makes through here. Having a look as well, you mentioned some of the lap times being set. Fastest lap still in the hands of Simon Reed, 124.345.
Mick Sutton's done a 23.
Oh, actually, yeah, you're right. Mick Sutton has done a 23, so he's even faster, actually. For some reason, I thought that was a 24, but 23, a very quick lap time being set by Mick Sutton. He could be, maybe towards the end of the race, closing back in on Kobe Likens.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be the battle to watch develop. If Mick can keep putting these laps together, lap after lap, looking there, Kobe Likens' previous lap of 125.4, Mick Sutton at 24.2, so a definite difference in speed here. But we've seen Mick before, as soon as he got past or braked himself in the chicane and got a little bit sideways and lost it under the braking. So let's see how Kobe responds to it. Let's see whether he can up the ante, increase his lap time, or whether he still drives with himself and just tries to drive a more defensive race.
Yeah, definitely. We can follow all of this as it unfolds, of course. All around. I'm just keeping my eyes on the gap at the front of the field. It's hanging about the 1.5 second margin. Luke Weston, I don't know if he's either just purposefully staying behind or just doesn't seem to have an answer for the lap times that Simon Reed's been able to set. Last time by, Simon extended his margin by 0.3 of a second. So for my money, that tells us that Simon Reed is on a real charge, and Luke Weston just is struggling a little bit, be it with not getting into the slipstream or just as well through the all-important final sector, isn't able to match what Simon Reed's doing. As I say that, though, he goes and proves me wrong as he actually goes slightly faster than Simon Reed. Last time by, the gap is starting to come down for the lead, and maybe this is Luke Weston leaving it right until the last moment, maybe lulling Simon into a false sense of security. Brad Smith that we're seeing definitely doesn't have any illusions that he's in a secure spot, as right behind him Sam Milner is starting to pile the pressure on here, Dave.
He is indeed, you know. So I said Sam Milner's starting to build up that bit of consistency, starting to get used to the car, and his lap times are starting to come down and down and down. But tell you what, Kobe is still doing a great job setting the fastest lap he's ever done on the previous lap at 24.6. So Kobe's trying to respond, he's trying to up his ante, but still, you know, hasn't had any moments yet, hasn't, you know, pushed the limit of what he can do yet, and, you know, found the limit and span off. So good drive by Kobe so far to keep Sutton behind. Looking at the gap between Simon Reed and Luke Weston, that gap sort of staying relatively similar, really. Luke Weston's not really making much inwards towards Simon Reed, but as I said before, he doesn't really have that slipstream advantage to help pull him onto the back. So if they're lapping the same lap times, it's sort of a bit of a stalemate. Drivers sort of going a tenth faster one lap and a tenth slower the next lap. So, you know, this is where Luke Weston really needs to find just a few tenths more pace to get within I don't know, what's that bracket there, maybe 3/4 of a second where that slipstream really starts to come in, and that's where you can actually be lapping maybe 2 to 3 tenths slower a lap and use the slipstream to really pull you back on that lap time.
Yeah, I think you got it right there. It's around about 8/10 of a second when you can start to get a little bit of a slipstream, and then once you start getting the slipstream, that allows you to get closer and closer each time by, and you get more and more slipstream, you get faster and faster. All of a sudden you're right up there in the mix. Well, Brad Smith is going to be mixing it up with Sam Milner behind him, and this is well into the final few moments. Look at this, Sam Milner going for a slight cutback, not able to pull it off just yet. Looks for the move, doesn't he, around the outside, and then has to slot back in behind. Loses out actually as well through that section again. It seems to work out in Brad Smith's favour, but the slipstream cancels it all out on this flat out section, the final half of the lap at Thruxton. We'll expect to see Sam Milner close in that margin and see what he can do. Margin is definitely opening up actually between Simon Reed and Luke Weston. It was almost 2 seconds actually, the gap between those two up at the front. So Simon Reed turning a massive amount of pace up all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the battle that's starting to develop between Corby and Sutton. Just as we expected, that battle's really starting to heat up. Sutton right in behind Corby Likens now. We can see on screen there Mick Sutton just come through turn 1. Corby's just in front of him. So looking at the lap times here, this is going to be a battle that is going to develop probably on the very last lap, and it's going to come down to slipstream, and it's going to come down to that last complex. This is a recipe for a dramatic finish, I'm telling you now.
Yeah, and you'll know, won't you, that Sutton will be absolutely hungry for a good result. He was up there, he was contending for the race lead before calamity at the final chicane took him out of contention. Maybe Likens will be definitely aware of the fact he saw it all unfold in front of him, and he will know that Mick Sutton will be closing back up to have a bit of a battle. See on board with Mick Sutton now closing the gap. It's under a second, just about, I think, between the pair of them.
Just not quite close enough at this slipstream yet. Just not quite close enough.
Slipstream, but you can see he's getting a tantalising taste of it, and all of a sudden he's going to be hoping to dine and feast well on the wonderful, wonderful slipstream. Going to close in. Look at that, gets the car pitched in nicely for the chicane. How much is he going to close up? Oh, he's got a brilliant run, hasn't he? Across the start-finish line. And this could be Mick Sutton right at the end of the race in contention. 4th place. Further in front, I can tell you that the gap has normalised between Simon Reed and Luke Weston. I think they're both holding station. Andy Dorman has kind of been in his own little world in 3rd place. Not concerning himself too much with all the fighting to be going around himself. Look at this. Kobe Likens a little bit out of sorts as well. Brad Smith has had contact. Has Sam Milner been involved in that, or was it just Sam? Brad just getting it all out of sorts on his own. We've seen it happen before, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, you know what this is going to mean? This is going to mean it's a guaranteed reverse grid pull for Brad Smith. But look at this. As I said, last lap, I mean, this is going to come down to slipstream through Church, and let's watch Mick Sutton put the move on into the last complex. I can tell you, it's going to happen here. Oh, it's Corby Likens runs all of the track limits, trying to keep as much speed through Church as possible. This is going to be the test for Corby. Can he keep Mick behind, going into the last complex? And if he can, what a standout race that's been for Corby so far.
Absolutely, the top 2 take the checkered flag. Oh, Kobe Likens gets out of sorts, out of shape. And is he going to have contact with Mick Sutton? Yes, he does. Mick Sutton faces backwards, so does Kobe Likens. Who's going to get it going first? I think Kobe's going to just about get there over the line. Mick Sutton coming home. A very dejected 5th place there for the number 19. Sam Milner further back, I think, will come through for 6th. You can see him coming out of the chicane here with Brad Smith bringing up the rear. That will be reverse grid pole position, though, for the 2nd race for Brad Smith. We've seen him go well, haven't we, at the front of the field last time out at Snetterton. He almost had his first podium last time out. Don't forget, this could be a perfect opportunity for Brad to try and our better fortunes, but fortune has favoured our pole sitter, hasn't it, Simon Reed? We said that it'd be difficult to get away at the front of the field, but it turns out if you're Simon Reed, you don't need to worry about that. You can just carry on as you did in qualifying.
Yeah, indeed. So I think I've just dragged him there into the commentary box. But we'll jump to our P3 finisher first. Andy Dorman, I can see you on your cool down lap now. I hope you can still talk to us. But yeah, just not quite the pace around this track to have enough to really challenge the front two places, was it?
I've been struggling all week with this circuit, to be fair.
Yeah, is it just a case of you just found it takes that much commitment to drive the track, and it's all about keeping your footing when realistically you want to be giving it a little bit of a lift?
Yeah, I think that's it. It's just one of those tracks that I've never gelled with, really.
Yeah, I mean it's one of them things. Certain drivers gel with different tracks and certain don't. But you know, I guess if you haven't gelled with it, should I say, you know, a P3 finish has still got to be great, especially for your championship hopes.
Oh yeah, I'm over the moon with the P3. I wasn't expecting it coming into tonight, like.
Well, fantastic news for that, Andy. Anyway, congrats on putting it on P3. I look forward to seeing how you do in race 2.
Yep, thanks a lot.
I'll move to our P2 finisher, Luke Weston. Probably a similar story. Maybe didn't expect a P2 finish, but I tell you what, you definitely had a good start with a very, very committed move up the inside of Mick Sutton.
Yeah, I just thought, oh, I'll see what happens. And at the start, yeah, I had my the front of my car was alongside Mick, so I was put on the curb. Really, no problem really, but I kept it going and tried to carry it on, but unfortunately got in front.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we'll quickly touch on the track here as well. Regarding the track, for me, it's one of the best tracks to race at. Constantly having a change of position with the likes of the slipstream and the commitment levels. I take you're really hoping in race 2 to use that slipstream to help pull you through the pack and possibly another podium position.
Yeah, of course, another podium's what you're aiming for, really, and the slipstream, yeah, as you say, is very powerful around this circuit. So as long as you can get tucked in behind another car, there's probably a good chance of you making a few overtakes, even on the straights.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing whether you can put that into practice, Luke. Good luck for race 2, mate. I'll move on. Our P1 finisher, Simon Reed. I guess you can't really grumble with that. I take you maybe a little bit put out when you saw the safety car come out because you got such a good start, but you sort of picked up where you left off, really.
Yeah, as you say, I mean, it was a shame. I was disappointed when I saw the safety cars. I did well off the line, but I think I managed to get away from the pack pretty well coming out when the safety car came in.
Yeah, I've got to give you credit. You judged the safety car very well indeed. Managed to get an extremely good start there and pulled a significant gap over Mick. And then, you know, it really worked in your favour, them two behind you just battling a little bit, and that really created that gap, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I was watching him in my mirror, and yeah, it was helping me out. Mick managed to get past there, and then I saw that towing effect. He managed to get right up on me, and I knew he was going to get past me, so I thought I just tried to give him as awkward of a line as possible into the last chicane, and unfortunately for him, it caused him to spin just because of the awkward line he had to take. And
Yeah, tour's quite probably a refreshing word. I seem to have said slipstream about 400 times tonight, so I might have to put a jar next to me for slipstream every time I mention it. But I'm going to mention it a little bit more in this interview. I mean, you probably saw the effects of it, but is that a danger going into the second race? I know you can obviously use it to help you pull through the grid, but you've seen once that car gets within that 3/4 of a second, you know, it could be really hard to defend.
yeah, definitely coming into that last chicane. If you can get close enough to someone, you can definitely make a move under brakes going up there with the help of the tow.
Well, looking forward to seeing how you manage with that, Simon. Good luck in race 2 and well deserved win there.
Thank you very much, Dave.
So with that, we come to the end of our post race 1 interviews. We can focus on the race 2, the second race of the evening. Going out very shortly on VRRC with just a minute until the green flag is waved.
Yeah, you know what, Ed? I think we're setting for an extremely good second race here. I think we've definitely got drivers with, a good bit of pace, but the overtaking opportunities this track really lends itself to. I'm not going to mention the word. I'll keep the jar empty for now. See how long I can last with that one, Ed. But yeah, this really is proven for me. I want to be on the grid.
Well, Thruxton is a real driver's track, isn't it? Everyone seems to enjoy coming here because you do have to be very brave around this circuit and really just put your car on the limit. That's what these drivers enjoy most, isn't it? Getting right up to the limit and trying to get the most out of their MX-5 machinery. 10 seconds to go. 10 seconds before we see Sam Milner. Yeah, not getting Sam Milner actually, no, isn't it? It is...
Brad Smith.
Brad Smith at the start. Yeah, Brad Smith at the start, and he's about to get underway here. Sutton, what can he do? Oh, well, nothing it turns out. He bogs down off the start or just misses the timing completely. All of a sudden, Mick Sutton is going to challenge it probably for the lead. Coming into the first little complex, you can see Andy Dorman in the mix as well in the middle of a 3-wide train. That's going to be something that will probably concern him as he's has a bit of a bang there with I think that was Brad Smith that he just had a slight door-to-door contact with. Meanwhile, up through, they're all close, aren't they, nose to tail, but they've gotten through a lot cleaner than they did in the first race here.
Yeah, this is exactly what Mick Sutton needed, isn't it, in race 2? Not a great race 1 for him. He knew he had the pace. Brad Smith with a very committed move up the inside there on Sam Milner. Very, very good run. And in fact, such a good run, I reckon he's going to be right on the tail of Mick Sutton here through Church. This could be one for the last complex, this could be.
Yeah, it could be. So we'll follow them through. Brad Smith on Mick Sutton. Mick Sutton has been historically very strong all evening into this last complex, into the club chicane. What can he pull off? Look at that in the background. I think that's Luke Weston going for a move on Andy Dorman. He's going to have the inside. Is Dorman going to afford him any space? I think just about at the early stage of the race. It'd be silly not to, wouldn't it? As Mick Sutton absolutely mashes it over the curbs. And again, Mick
huge
Sutton
crush.
at that final chicane has another moment all by his lonesome. And that's given the race lead to Sam Milner. He's going to get up and running. Oh, was that a collision, though, between himself and Brad Smith? I think Brad was just a little bit too close to a spinning Mick Sutton and got collected, unfortunately. And, well, Brad Smith's evening goes from bad to absolutely catastrophic.
Yeah, you know what, it would be really interesting to see that, and I believe this is looking to me like this is a formation for a safety car. It is indeed. Look, the lights have just come on at the top there, so the drivers will come round and pick the safety car up. Whether this is a virtual safety car, we'll wait and see whether there's a car that comes out, or if the race director thinks the bunch is closed up enough prior to going towards the line, he will call a safety car in, even though there's not an actual safety car out, and try a bit like in real F1. Yeah, I mean, Mick Sutton there, it would be brilliant to see if we could get a replay or some sort of feedback from the race director who maybe saw it, whether or not he lost it by himself or there was any sort of contact there on the entry of the chicane. We did see Brad Smith was very close to Mick Sutton there, but it's all speculation, isn't it? I would love to say I know what happened there, but we don't. All we do know is Mick Sutton and Brad Smith, both cars that went into that lost complex together, are now running 6th and 7th on the grid. And look, Luke Weston's found himself back on the podium. Andy Dorman sat there in 2nd place, and Sam Milner leading the race.
Yeah, it's very good, isn't it, to see Sam Milner right up the front, but with Andy Dorman and Luke Weston behind it, such a slipstream heavy circuit, you're going to have to expect, aren't you, that he'll be under a lot of pressure as the racing gets back underway. I think the safety car driver...
I believe it is a virtual safety car.
Yeah, it's a virtual safety car, because the safety car driver, I think after the first lap, thought, they've got through that safely. I'm not needed, and didn't account for all of the dramas happening right at the end between Mick Sutton and Brad Smith. But have they gotten underway? I think they have, you know. So Sam Milner is going to bring the field through and get this race back underway. Mick Sutton in the background is
Oh
going to go
my God,
three
you
wide.
crushed
Kobe
the background.
Likens gets absolutely smashed into the wall. I think there was a bit of a contact, wasn't it, as Mick Sutton went down the inside of another car, and that sort of created a domino effect into Kobe Likens. So all of a sudden, Mick Sutton, man on a mission, sweeps it around the outside, then gets the inside again. 3 wide, they go into the right-hander at Seagrave, and they're so close, aren't they, on the exit? Simon Reed, and I think that is Brad Smith. Look at how close they were getting to one another, and again, I thought we were going to see Brad Smith coming across the nose of yet another car on this flat-out mid-sector. I think he's realised that probably isn't going to work out for him too much. And well, look at all of this. It's fighting and tossing. Simon Reed's going to have a replies that you're going to try and fight back. He's going to be held to the outside line though, isn't he? Going through Church. Is the overspeed enough? Well, we'll find out later as Luke Weston gets a run up in front on Andy Dorman, and that is for second place. 2 by 2, Noah's arcing their way through this Thruxton circuit. Difficult to know which battle to focus on. Luke Weston getting through on Andy Dorman, and well, Simon Reed holding back Brad Smith for now. But Brad's under his own amount of pressure there as well. Mick Sutton is in the mix, going to look for a move down the inside through the first corner.
Yeah, that's looking like it's a setup for a great move into turn 1. Slight lean on the door there from Mick Sutton, but perfectly legal that was for me. You know, I do like a bit of Rubbins racing, and that was absolutely fine by my book. Brad Smith though shrugging off a little bit too much speed then to the first complex. Mick Sutton though with definitely his head down, he wants to get back involved in this battle. But look, Luke Weston with the spin, just running it a little bit wide onto the grass, promoting Andy Dorman up into second place. You know what, this for me is one of them drives from Andy where he's just been smart, letting other people have their sort of moments, their mistakes, and he's just sat there in a perfect position, just letting things happen, and found himself on the podium yet again.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a very intriguing little race that's unfolding. Sam Milner staying in front for the moment, though, weathering the storm as Andy Dorman gets very close. A little bit of dust being kicked up as he makes his way across the grass on the inside there. I think he's going to go for a move, though, isn't he? Down the inside into the chicane. He's going to have the run through, and I think he's going to take the position. As from my, Sam Milner's got a little bit of internet issues. His lag's not doing too great. That might have been what caused actually Luke Weston's spin, his crash, just desyncing of cars, causing contact for one driver, and then all went a bit wrong as Simon Reed. Oh, look at how close he was there.
Yeah, that was a very near moment there. Sam Milner just tightening up the exit of the corner more than it probably needed to, and Simon Reed probably really struggling to judge that. Wasn't expecting Sam not to run the track out on exit. You know, them are the sort of moments there where there is a follow driver. If you're already sort of prejudging what the car in front of you is going to do, and if he then doesn't do what you expect, that's when things can really go wrong, because the amount of commitment that you need for some of these corners, you know, you can see you're not thinking about braking. So if anything does happen like that, you know, this is why in Thruxton in real life can be a place where you have absolutely huge crashes. I was lucky enough that I got offered to actually race Thruxton or Silverstone, and I went for Silverstone because I didn't exactly have the bottle for Thruxton. I thought, you know, it's probably a good chance it'd be a very big bill.
Yeah, repair bills are often rather a bit higher for all drivers coming out of Thruxton because of the high-speed nature of the circuit. There's never a small incident at Thruxton, is there?
No, that is the thing.
That's
that is
the
the
big
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
As we see the cars make their way through the final chicane, closing up to another. Mick Sutton is slowly but surely edging his way into the battle for the front of the field for the race lead. As Brad Smith, he gets wide there as he's slightly pushed off, do you reckon? Into the wall. Armco barrier massively sending his car around. What on earth happened there?
Yeah, that would be an interesting one, but you can see once Brad was on the grass, he's just a bit of a passenger. Like, you know, he tried to scrub as much speed off as he could there. He'll have been on the brakes with a considerable amount of lock on the car, and the car just keeps washing off. He hit the barrier, was too much momentum, and that's what made the bounce off and the little spin round as well.
Yeah, it's been a very intense evening, has it, for all the drivers here at Thruxton? It's been a real elbows out affair, as you probably expect coming into this round. Fifth round, going to the latter stage of the championship, where drivers are starting to see their positions and who they're fighting for coming into the final round at Cadwell. So much at stake, and that's seeing the drivers just try to maybe push it a little bit too much. Do you reckon here, Dave? They're just, I think, attempting too much. Look at that, a big moment from Andy Dorman, and Simon Reed capitalises on that, says, I'm going to come through on that, thank you very much. Down the inside he goes, taking himself into the lead of the race. But Andy Dorman, well done on holding that, because how many times have we seen drivers hit over those anti-cuts, those sausage curves, and completely lose control?
Yeah, exactly that factor. I think he did extremely well to save that. Now, this for me, this is going to be quite a deciding factor for me for driver of the round. I'd already had Andy Dorman marked down as a real strong contender, a really good race one, a clean race two, you can see, not a scratch on his car, and also, you know, fantastic results basically. But this for me is where it's really going to help decide it. Are we going to see a different side Andy Dorman here, a little bit more attacking than we've seen in the rest of the championship? But look at Mick Sutton, because Mick Sutton isn't going to hold back on the attack. So if Andy Dorman doesn't go for it, Mick Sutton will, and that's where things can really happen bad.
Yeah, Simon Reed holding firm at the front just at the moment. As look at this down the inside, Andy Dorman's going to go for this. Simon Reed is probably going to try and hold
he's going
off,
for it.
maybe. I was going to say he's going to go for it down the inside. I think he's just about
great move.
Great stuff from Andy Dorman, but also brilliant from Simon Reed not to lose out on two positions. He slotted in behind at the perfect time, not giving Mick Sutton any chance to fight back and to try and get up in the second place. As soon as Simon Reed dropped back into third, you'll have to say it's going to be so much harder for him to get up to the front. And look how close he's able to get into Citroën late on the brakes as he makes his way through this first complex, getting flat onto the throttle here. Look at Mick Sutton as well.
Sutton's wide.
Just a massive moment. He's wide. He's potentially out of this fight. He's got to hope that the top two squabble and slow each other down, bringing himself into the mix. And Simon Reed, he could be a very good contender for driver of the round, you know, pole position and the race victory in the first time of asking. If he gets the second one from, well, all the way down in 7th place, he will certainly be a good shout for that.
Yeah, it is, for me, it is between these two drivers, Simon Reed or Andy Dorman. It's going to probably come down to these final few laps. You know, it's one of them things where Simon Reed won the last race, so it's very easy to put him on the table for drive the round. But then, you know, to watch Andy Dorman pull himself back up from not the best qualifying, he said he struggled, with clean racing and gotten a brilliant positional finish, is that more rewarding than just an outright position?
Oh.
Simon Reed with a mistake on the 7 minutes to go, you can see that's claimed a good few people that last chicane that now.
Yeah, it has an uncharacteristic mistake though from Simon Reed. I don't think we've seen anything of that sort from him all season long. Simon's always one of the drivers that you bank on being consistent and just taking the race as it comes, managing it. We know his race pace is excellent. Strange though, isn't it, to see Simon Reed having a moment similar to Mick Sutton. Mick's Oliver definitely up there for the race victory now, as Andy Dorman finds himself with maybe a bit of clear track behind himself. Actually, yep, 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds clear of second place. This is going to be a great race for Andy Dorman, and unfortunately, I think that little moment from Simon Reed probably takes him out of contention for driver of the round.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Dorman had a very, very similar moment, if you remember, a few laps back. You know, there's still 6 minutes left.
But he held it, didn't he? That was the thing. He
anything
held
can
it.
happen, but yeah, Andy Dorman managing to hold that drift, and that's what's kept him in contention and took Simon out. So yeah, that's sort of swaying things more towards Andy, but let us know in the comments. Have your feedback on who you think deserves it. It is a very, very difficult decision between these drivers at the moment. Sam Milner up into 3rd place. The best drive we've seen him do all season yet here at Thruxton. I believe Brad Smith has parked it in the pits with terminal damage to the car, so that's unfortunately ruled Brad Smith out of this round. But I'll tell you another thing as well. I'm just looking at the championship standings. It's really going to make things a little bit more interesting. The championship with Simon Reed being back in 4th, Mick Sutton with a 2nd place finish, and Andy Dorman now with a 1st place. Things are going to start to get interesting towards go up the last round.
Absolutely, yeah. His last race, don't forget, Mick Sutton, I think, finished down in 5th, while Simon Reed came through to take the race victory. Been a very topsy-turvy evening for some of the drivers, haven't they? Have good fortune in one race, bad fortune in another, and all of a sudden they're back where they started coming into this round. So the championship picture is, like you mentioned, very close, very tasty indeed. And if the race finishes like this, we're in for an amazing conclusion to this championship at Cadwell Park. But of course, it's more about the here and now, more about what can Mick Sutton do to close the gap in the final 5 minutes to Andy Dorman up in front. And like you mentioned, I think if Andy Dorman can come through and take this race victory, after all of the stuff we've been saying about the trickiness of the circuit, the way he held it coming through here from that little moment, he's been showing a very good spirited drive, and I can't think of many other drivers more deserving of driver of the round. That is, of course, if he's able to bring it through to the end, because we've seen so much, haven't we?
You're right, yeah.
The circuit can fight back in dramatic fashion.
Yeah, that last chicane really is proving a bit of a culprit, isn't it? You know, but yeah, I've just thought of it there. Dorman for the door, driver of the round. It's got a certain ring to it, doesn't it? So, yeah, you know what? He has really impressed me this race. We'll wait and see how he develops, but it's just a drive of a championship driver. You know, bagging points all around. You know, he's sitting 3rd at the moment in the Drivers' Championship. All that's going to take is a really good round next round out, and it's going to come down to the wire.
Yeah, and most importantly, a thing that I don't think we actually picked up on is the fact that last race, Mick Sutton's podium streak came to an end, didn't it? Finishing down in 4th. Well, actually, no, 5th place, wasn't it? Behind Kobe Likens. Really saw him, unfortunately, taken out of the picture. And finishing on the podium every single race this season. It was close run thing. Maybe Mick Sutton is going to try and have a better fortunes in the Formula 4s next time out. As we say better fortunes, I mean, it's very good, isn't it? The way that he's been able to finish so consistently on the podium. And look at through the final chicane, gets a massive amount of speed. Half a second, in fact 6/10 of a second nearly clawed back to Andy Dorman just in that one movement, just that one corner, and he's right up there now in contention for the race lead.
Yeah, you know what? This is where we might see Andy. You know, this is where you can't afford to let Mick Sutton by. In other races, we've seen maybe if Mick shows his nose, Andy will go, you know what? I'm thinking of the bigger standings. I'm thinking of the championship. I'll allow that place to go. The championship doesn't have long left now. This is where Andy needs to dig deep and actually defend this position. He needs this win to keep his championship hopes alive. Let's see if he can do it. But one of the hardest tracks to do with the in the slipstream. But Mick Sutton, you see, already side by side. Andy just needs a little throttle lift here, tuck back in behind Mick. Now on the throttle, get the slipstream past and have a move into the last complex again.
I swear he's probably got you right in his ear, telling him exactly what to do, because he is
listening
to you word for word, isn't he? Down the inside into the final chicane. You must have a word right through to him live here. Because look at that. Move. What did you say? You've hit it right on the head. Great stuff from Andy Dorman. He's definitely been listening to your feedback. Definitely been listening, of course, to everything you've been telling the drivers coming into this round, probably. And you can tell you what, it's working out for him, because he's able to keep Mick Sutton at bay. We've got 2 more laps to go, though. Not the white flag just yet, with 1 minute 40 still to go in this race. It's all to play for, isn't it, though? For the top spot of the podium, Andy Dorman. What a drive he is doing on. He's got the racecraft. He's got the pace as well. Mick Sutton with a real job on his hands. But of course, something to be said about Mick as well. Just finishing down in second place will be all important for him scoring good points, considering his nearest championship rival, Simon Reed, is down in fourth. He can't afford another mistake, another moment with another driver up at that club chicane, because it's been his undoing all evening, hasn't it?
It has indeed, and you know what? A battle that we're not actually looking at the moment. Now we are. Just as I said that, Tom O'Farrell on the point there, our camera guy there, just picking the exact battle that I was going to be talking about. This Sam Milner, Simon Reed battle, the lap times looking like is Simon Reed is 7/10 quicker a lap than Sam Milner. So that means, you know, if there's another lap here, that gap is already down to 1.4 with a little bit of pressure. This could be another battle for the podium that's coming down the line. But with this battle's going on, but Mick Sutton also with a fantastic run is right on the back of Dorman as well.
Yeah, and this is the final lap of this race. So I think let's go to the front now between Dorman and
look at this.
Sutton. Look at this going through the Campbell Cobb and Seagrave. They go. Mick Sutton is going to hope for the slipstream to work out for him. He's a bit further back. That could play into his hands, though. He's not going to be able to get through coming into church. Instead, he's going to be able to get the run, get the slipstream potentially into the final chicane. The closing speed might work out just enough for Mick Sutton. We'll see them as they come through this part of the lap. What is the closing speed like for Mick Sutton? The gap, half a second near or nearabouts, coming through church now. Is it going to be enough for Mick Sutton to close in? I don't think he will. He'll see the car in front, but he'll know there's just not enough time, not enough closing speed for him to go for the move. So instead, he'll have to get on the brakes, slow the car down, and concede the fact that he'll be finishing second place to the man in front of him, Andy Dorman, who's driven a brilliant race this evening, takes the checker flag, takes the race victory ahead of Mick Sutton and Sam Milner and Simon Reed. Look at how close they were. Sam Milner finishing on the podium for the first time this championship, I believe, first time this season. Great stuff there from Sam. Simon Reed coming home in fourth place, a bit of a damage limitation race for himself there. Wasn't also able to take the fastest lap. That actually went the way of Mick Sutton. An extra few points in the championship going his way, crucial at this late stage. We've got Kobe Likens just coming through to finish his final lap, and that will be all of the drivers coming across the line as Brad Smith, terminal damage, wasn't able to finish the race. This man though, Andy Dorman, great drive from him, fending off Mick Sutton at the end.
Yeah, it really was, and you know what? I've got to hand it to Thruxton. It never disappoints with action, and them cars around this track, I mean, that for me was racing. Thinking about strategy, thinking about when to do your overtake. Just so many overtaking points for me on this track. But I have actually dragged in the podium position finishers into the interview booth. So we'll jump to our P3 finisher, the first time on the podium. Fantastic race, Sam Milner. Well done on a P3 finish.
Thanks a lot, Dave. Yeah, I had a few issues with my ping, so I had a coming together with Brad. I think the podium's more out of fortune than anything, because I know Simon had a bit of a spin right in front of me, but you know, buzzing. Didn't think I'd get anything out of Thruxton, so yeah, really happy with it.
Well, you know what? If you stay part of the academy, it's a track you're going to be coming back to each championship. So get used to Thruxton and the racing that it really entails. But yeah, you say about through a bit of misfortune. At the end of the day, you kept it on the grid, you brought it home, and that's a deserving P3 in my books.
It just goes to show that, you know, if you put the hours in, the academy really can improve you. I could see my consistency getting better, and yeah, I wouldn't have finished on the podium if I wasn't able to keep putting lap after lap in to keep Simon just behind me.
Well, honestly, mate, I'm absolutely chuffed for your first podium position, and I'm sure it won't be the last. Congrats, Sam, and looking forward to seeing how you're doing the very last round at Caldwell Park.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
And we'll move on to our P2 finisher. that was a little bit better, wasn't it? Make a little bit of a rescue compared to your race 1, and really has kept your championship hopes alive going into Cadwell Park.
Needed a good one there, but wasn't quite good enough. But never mind. I think another couple of laps I might have just nipped Andy. I was a bit quicker than him, I think, in the middle section.
Yeah,
I was catching him up, but once you're flat out and you're heading down that straight after church towards the chicane, there's not a lot you can do. There's only 1 mile an hour or possibly 2 in the toe if you're lucky.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a tough night, really, to be honest. I put a lot of laps in the week, and I thought I was doing all right. But anyway, it's life. But I can't be disappointed with P2.
Yeah, it's racing, mate. It's racing. That's what it is. But yeah, congratulations, Mick, and it has kept your championship hopes alive. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what you can do in the battle for that in the last round of the MX-5 of the Academy. And yeah, well done on the podium position.
Thank you very much, and well done everybody else. And good luck to Sam. That was good. But Sam, you need to sort your ping out, mate. It was hard to get past, definitely, with his ping so bad.
Well, definitely something we'll look at for the next race. Thanks a lot, Mick. I will move on to our P1 finisher, Andy Dorman, and voted driver of the round as well. You know what? That was the calculated drive and the championship hopes that you needed for this round to really have a threat in the last round of the championship.
Better outcome than I was expecting.
Well, you know what? It's exactly what you needed to do, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I managed to keep them behind me all the way through.
Just about. I mean, I take it you found the slipstream there really quite hard in the final few laps, but Ed was actually saying it was almost like you had an earpiece in. I was saying, Mick's gone for that move maybe a little bit too early. All Andy needs to do here is give it a little lift, tuck back in. He should have him back going into the last complex, and it was exactly what you did, perfectly executed.
Yeah, I thought it was going to go early, so I thought if I nip him behind him, I can get him on the run up to the chicane.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Thruxton offers to me. There's overtaking opportunities at the beginning with the braking zone, all the slipstream down towards church, the slipstream after. Yeah, it's one of them races where, especially if you're leading like you were from Mick had a little bit of a pace advantage on track, but then the slipstream also was really keeping in contention for the possible win. That must have been one of the harder races to defend from, because you never quite know when he's going to be able to go for the move.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest races I've ever done on a sim.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing how you manage back at Thruxton in a different classic car. I believe it's the Formula 4's next, so we're looking forward to seeing that. Congratulations on P1 in race 2, but also our driver of the round as well, Andy. Well deserved there. Great finish and great consistency.
What, Dave?
So with that, we come to the end of the post-race interviews for the second race of the evening. Andy Dorman, like I mentioned, driver of the round and thoroughly deserved. It's basically showing exactly why we love this Academy series, because the drivers have been developed so much, and the way he defended from Mick Sutton at the end, the way he gave up the position only to take it back just nice and easily, lifting out, giving it up, and then going back for it, shows a proper driver, not an Academy driver at all, does it? And that's
exactly
that's
that.
a real factor that we have to consider, isn't it? The pair of us in who is driver of the round. You can see the championship standings up on your screen now. These are, of course, before bonus points and penalties are looked at. Simon Reed just ahead of Mick Sutton by 8 points. Andy Dorman there in third. Not out of the picture just yet. You have to say he could still be a force through at Cadwell Park. Sam Miller in fourth and Luke Weston in fifth place. But we'll have to look forward, won't we, to the next round at Cadwell Park. And what a circuit that will be to see all the MX-5s making their way up at Charlie's, down the hill, going through the gooseneck. Oh, I love Cadwell so much. I'm really looking forward to the next round. And of course, if you've enjoyed, make sure to get the stream like and a share. And if you want to get involved in all of the action, I think there are still spaces on the grid for the final race at Cadwell. Check out our Discord and we'll be able to get you all sorted out. And as well, spots are open for the next season. You can see the Formula 4 here kicks off on the 26th of July at Brands Hatch. Follows the same track rotation as the MX-5s all throughout the season. Be sure to get involved and we'll love to see you out on the circuit. But for me, that is goodbye. Any final thoughts from yourself, Dave, after this race at Thruxton?
Yeah, well, as you already touched upon, you know, for me, Thruxton is such a racer's track. It's fantastic to race on. Cadwell, for me, is the driver's track. You know, it's going to be very difficult to race. Qualifying's going to be worth a lot there. It's very narrow, quite hard to overtake, very technical, very easy to make a mistake on. So, going to be a real big test for the drivers. So yeah, massively looking forward to that. But as you've already said, sign-ups are now live for our Formula 4 starting on the 26th of July at Brands. So make sure you jump on our Discord at Virtual Reality Racing Club or our Facebook to get involved in the academy. As you can see, it's brilliant driver progression at the moment. So any of them newcomers to sim racing and wanting to enter a series that, you know, is perfectly, you know, catered for their needs, feel free to get in touch. And then, and as you can see on screen, actually well pointed out by Tom, we have our League of Champions finale tomorrow night in the touring cars at the Red Bull Ring. And then, you know, it's going to be crunch time. You know, the cars have got serious ballast on board, drivers taking certain weight reductions in the car. It's going to be definitely one to watch. Dan Zelos, Jordan Brennan, some serious names run at the front. You don't want to miss it.
No, you really don't. So all that to look forward to on VRRC. And you know what? We'll look forward to all of the action here in the Academy MX-5s. I've been Ed May. Dave Marshall's been alongside us. Tom Farrell on the cameras. As always, we'll see you all in a week's time at Cadwell Park for the season finale. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
Between the two of them, the inside of Coates, Parker gets too heavily involved, and that's Whitehead and Coates.